Oh yeah.
Jerry gave you the Ixnay flash. Watch it.
Do you have announcements about, I have a cough drop, huh? Oh my God, there's so much. Second Sunday soup social is May, don't worry about it. We'll wait. I mean, it's in 2 weeks, but we're not 100% sure. Ixnay on the 6th. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess.
Let it begin.
Yeah, look at the four parachutes. I'll start. I'll go to you. You're already broadcasting.
All right.
Whatever you start, where you started.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to all of you out there in the sanctuary, to those viewing us online. My name's Terry Cross. I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Flint, a progressive, LGBTQ affirming and religious community. If you would like more information about our faith tradition or this congregation, please feel free to talk with one of our ministers today or via the contact information found at uuflint.org. Visitors are especially invited to attend us for coffee hour downstairs today after the service, and trust me, any of us will be happy to tell you all about our congregation. You may also sign up for our weekly email newsletter by visiting our website, scanning the QR code on the order of service, or by completing this card in the back seat, in the seat backs in front of you here in the sanctuary. And please see the back of your order of service for important announcements, but we do have several we're going to highlight. First, thank you to everyone from UUCF who attended the No Kings protest on Saturday the 18th. You were part of a crowd of possibly 7,000 people. It was amazing. What a beautiful event. Flint came out. Portland showed us how to do it. The signs, the costumes, the energy, so proud of the crowd and organizers. It was so good to see so many of you there. Even one in a bear costume. One of my favorite signs was imagine being afraid of diversity, but not of dictatorship. I also want to give a shout out to Flint Alliance of Immigration Rights and all of us that have been attending and speaking at the Metropolitan Police Committee meetings. We were rewarded this week with the suspension of the 287G agreement with ICE. Yes, which was amazing, amazing. I like to think we educated and pricked the conscience of the police chief, but if it was solely based on a technicality of staff reallocation, leaving the program short, I'll take it. Community action, powerful stuff. Get involved. It made a difference that we showed up and packed the room at their meetings. It really did. Okay, let's see. White Elephant. Halloween bingo is back for the third and perhaps final year. Note the date change, Friday, November 7th, 6 to 9 in Nelson. If you purchased tickets at last year's Tales and Tunes and can attend the new date, please see revlynn. Costumes still welcome. You won't want to miss the fun. Okay. Today at noon, here in the sanctuary, please consider joining us for a workshop on the layperson's art of pastoral care. Whether you would like to be part of lay care team or not, this session will focus on what to do and say to be helpful when our members are in need. Okay. And coming up, this is Mustard's Retreat. Matt Retroba, Dan Hall will be back November 1st at 3 p.m. for Sing Out the Hope, Community Sing. Next Saturday, 3 p.m. Jeremy and Ken will open, and the UU Joyful Singers will sing The People Have the Power. Yeah, and we needed you. This is a community sing. All voices take us higher. Don't miss this event. Experience the power of community coming together in joyful harmony. I was reminded of the power of music yesterday when Jeremy sang Blue Boat Home at Charles Thomas's funeral. The song amplified the feelings of that moment, feelings for Charles, and for the larger communion of mourning together as Unitarian Universalists. Tickets are on sale for $20 in the church office. See me today after the service, and a portion of the profits will go to the food pantry at the Great Flint Public Library. Okay, new website. For the past few months, a new UUCF website has been under construction, and it's now here for your opportunity to participate. We want to videotape individuals, couples, friends, for posting on the site throughout the year. Participants will be given questions ahead of time and share responses during the taping. Think about bringing a friend. Chris Monk, I think this might be for us. And the two of you could sit together and respond to each other. Let's have fun with this. The idea is to have our community reach out through the website and hopefully draw folks to us. If you're interested in participating, have time on November 10th, 13th, between 10 and 4. Please contact Sandra Murphy. She's worked so hard on this, really. Please see your e-up for contact details. Wait, there's more. Please join us in our century-old tradition of open discussion in a church managed by the congregation's own members. This congregation's recent decision to hold membership in both North American Unitarian Association and the Unitarian Universalist Association requires that we look at Article 1 and 13 of our bylaws. So please see your e-update for details. This forum is an important occasion for congregants of all opinions to speak freely in the spirit of tradition that was born and nurtured on the principles of freedom of conscience and the democratic process. We hope you can be with us and express yourself. And I'm going to ask John Straw. He's going to do a second Sunday offering.
Yeah, our second offering for this month, many of you probably already know and maybe have already donated, but it's for motherly intercession. Our church has helped that organization for at least the last dozen years or so. It is such a vital, vital organization. They provide services for children whose parents are incarcerated, help with schoolwork, Monday through Friday afternoon to about 8 o'clock at night. They have students and they feed them a meal. There's counseling available. This organization connects kids with their parents, makes arrangements for them to visit their parents in jail. They have parenting classes for the parents when they're in jail, so that when the parents get out and the parents and the children are reunited, it's successful. Ruth and I have been supporting this organization ever since we found out about it with Reverend Dini. We invite you all to make a donation in the basket today. Also, coming up November 12th on a Wednesday is their annual fundraising dinner out at Genesis Banquet Center. And if you would like more information about that, please see Ruth or I. And we need to get your tickets ordered by next Sunday, November 2nd, for that event so that they can, know who's coming. Thank you.
Lighting our chalice. We light this flame for our fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Now, if you please join me in reciting our covenant. Recognizing the richness of diversity, the beauty and wonder of shared worship, and the transforming power of love and service. We have our sacred, intentional community to freely acknowledge and truth, to celebrate the fullness of life, and by our actions to increase goodness and justice. Thank you.
Freedom over me. Yeah, let's watch the slides.
A diversified greeting.
Hey there. What's up? Howdy.
Yo. Hiya. G'day.
What's up? Welks. How's it going?
Good to see you. Aloha. How's life?
Assalamu alaikum. What's the word? Long time no see.
How's everything? Konnichiwa. How's the world been treating you?
Shalom. What's happening? Hey, stranger.
Salutations. Bonjour. Ciao.
Namaste.
Hola.
How's tricks?
Salut.
Sup.
During our musical meditation today, please feel free to light candles in the front or in the rear of joy or concern. And of course, you can always write in our books, and we will publish your joy or concern in our weekly newsletter. Our words for meditation today are from Kierkegaard's Works of Love. To grumble about the world and its unhappiness is always easier than to beat one's breast and groan over oneself. Yet this is the beginning of the change for the better. The grumbler, the one who complains about the world and humanity, is certainly not a person who loves their self in the Christian sense, for if they did, they would understand what is required of them. They would then indeed complain, but not about the world or about others, only about their self. The person who in despair over the world's faults, who begins with their self, they are on the right track. Let us enjoy the silence. Amen and blessed be.
Our reading this morning is about the things that can happen to you when you are on the way to becoming the first black Supreme Court justice in American history. In 1961, on the first day of his job as a judge in the U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals, Thurgood Marshall arrived to be photographed along with the other judges. The photographer blew a fuse while setting up his equipment, so they called for an electrician. And who should walk through the door next but Thurgood Marshall, dressed casually, as he hadn't put on his robe yet. The secretary looked up at him and said, "Oh, good, you must be the electrician." Thurgood laughed his usual booming laugh and told the secretary, "No, I'm the new judge." To spare her some embarrassment, he later explained to the secretary that he laughed so hard because all the trade unions in New York State were segregated. He could be a high court judge appointed by President John F. Kennedy, but he couldn't be an electrician for the state of New York. Thurgood Marshall, civil rights lawyer extraordinaire and the first black Supreme Court justice in America, loved to tell stories. I think we have a picture of him here too, telling a story. It seems fitting then to start with a story about Thurgood, told by a former director of the U.S. Civil Rights Commission and who was a prominent white lawyer. He wrote, "Shortly after President Kennedy appointed Thurgood to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, he asked him to travel to Africa as his representative on a goodwill tour. In July of 1963, we flew together to Nairobi, where 3 years earlier, Marshall had been involved in writing the Kenyan Constitution, one that provided strong civil rights protections for their minorities. All the way down, I was hearing Thurgood say, 'Everybody's going to be at the airport when I get there.' 'Thurgood,' I said, 'we're getting there at 3:30 in the morning. Nobody is going to be at the airport at 3:30 a.m. But Marshall insisted there would be a red carpet lined with the president's cabinet. As we approached Nairobi's airport, I looked out the window and saw an empty tarmac. So I started teasing Thurgood, and there's no welcoming party out there, Thurgood. So we land, and son of a bitch, these people come running out with pulling a red carpet. As the door opened, Marshall elbowed his way in front of me. 'Get behind me. They don't want to see no European down here. This is for Thurgood.' I protested that we both represented the U.S. government. 'You are a white representative of the government,' said Marshall. 'They want to see Thurgood.' He was right, of course. But at one point I told him that he should not be telling President Kenyatta how he should be running his government. I said, 'You're behaving like the Emperor Jones.' Marshall just laughed and said, 'White boy, when we're in East Africa, I am Emperor Jones.' The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Thurgood Marshall, 3 men of position, influence, and power, and all were there at the height of the Black American struggle for civil rights. But you don't hear nearly as much about Thurgood. But today, as we search for answers about how in the world did America elect its current president, it seems wise to look back at people we celebrated not so long ago. Celebrated as the wise ones of an earlier time. An earlier time when our nation was, yes, struggling in its quest for justice for all, but always struggling forward. Today, it seems America is in many ways struggling backwards. Over the past few years, our church has looked for answers, learning from Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So it makes sense that we now look to Thurgood Marshall. He knew he wouldn't get into the University of Maryland Law School, but in 1930, young Thurgood applied anyway to the University of Maryland. The UMD Law School, as it was known, was just a few blocks from his parents' house. He could walk there, and the tuition was reasonable. He applied and was, of course, rejected, simply because he was black. He would have to go to Howard University, but he didn't even have the money for that. With no hesitation, his mother pawned her wedding and engagement rings. For Thurgood to make it to the train down to Howard University, he was up and out of the house by 5 o'clock. And he was on his long walk to the train station. On his first day of classes, Dean Charles Hamilton Houston walked into the room to speak to the new class of 35 students. But he did not welcome them. He instead bluntly announced that Howard University was no longer for students who did not want to give their full attention to the study of the law. And I believe we have a picture of Dean Charles Hamilton Houston here. He warned them. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the next one, Thorpe. I thought I deleted that one. Thanks. Dean Houston warned them that their former success in college meant nothing to him. It would give him great pleasure to flunk out Phi Beta Kappas. His stern lecture ended with a caution. 2 out of every 3 of you won't be here next year. Charles Houston knew there were only about 1,000 black attorneys in all of the United States, only 100 in the South, and he was going to change that. He soon found that Thurgood was a bold, exceptional student. Exceptional because he did everything he was asked, from research on obscure legal opinions to foraging for coffee and sandwiches. Thurgood, fueled by his fear of failure and by the memory of his mother's pawned rings, graduated 3 years later at the top of his class. There's something in that story that is easy to miss, I think. But I think it's important to our efforts to explain why our nation is creeping backwards. While Thurgood was shaped by expectations of academic excellence and a demanding course of study, we now live in a country where academic standards have declined dramatically over the last 50 years. Declined particularly in areas like grading practices, college rigor, the difficulty of college, and student achievement. Declining rigor in college is well documented and results in less demanding coursework, fewer writing assignments, reduced reading loads, degrees that offer no hope of employment, and surveys also show students spend fewer hours studying than in the past. They're just not hitting the books as in the past. A 1983 report, A Nation at Risk, warned of a rising tide of mediocrity. Reforms like No Child Left Behind, which you probably remember, or Common Core, they aim to raise standards, but their success has been very uneven. without reducing our problems, mainly the slide of this one problem, to just a poorly educated America. But social scientists and thinkers of all types do wonder if American voters are now less capable, less interested, less conscious of what they're doing when they vote. Perhaps they have less of those things because they don't know much about history. Martin, Malcolm, and Marshall were all highly educated. Malcolm X was self-educated, reading a whole library of books at night on the floor of his dimly lighted prison cell instead of sleeping. Those three, they knew the value of education. It's unclear now if we, the people, know its value. In 1933, at the height of the Depression, Thurgood went to work in Baltimore and took to heart Dean Charles Houston's advice to be twice as good as white lawyers. His briefs were carefully written, his arguments well-reasoned, so judges liked him. He wrote, "I never filed a paper in any court with an erasure on it. If I changed a word, it had to be typed all over." The NAACP quickly took notice of his work and asked him to go to the South with his former dean, Charles Houston, to document the horrid conditions of segregated schools. They worked in the back seat of their car with their typewriters on their laps. The NAACP assigned a funeral hearse with 2 riflemen inside to ride behind Houston and Marshall for protection. Back in Baltimore, Marshall successfully defended black clients and had a good relationship with white judges, including the bigots. Thurgood knew how to respectfully navigate his way among those whites who were definitely his enemies. He held his tongue until he got into firing position, then used the law as his ammunition. But neither was he passive in any way. He helped workers at Bethlehem Steel form an integrated union and had to flee for his life from anti-union goons carrying nightsticks. Thurgood wrote, "It was night, it was raining, and we started running from the thugs, and 2 of us saw a church with a big hedge around it. So we got down in the hedge, and these guys were coming by shouting, 'Black son of a bitch,' and knocking heads. So we lay down in the mud. At first, that mud was cold, but it got real warm. We stayed there until they left after midnight. Then, after 2 more years of hard work, in 1935, it happened. Thurgood knew a Donald Gaines Murray, a young black man who wanted to go to law school. So Thurgood suggested that Murray apply to the University of Maryland Law School. That's right, the same law school that denied Thurgood admission, and he knew they would certainly deny Murray admission, as they did. Thurgood was pretty sure he could sue and win the case by citing the 14th Amendment. And he did. He played every card right, refusing to get mad when the state's lawyers kept stalling. He remained charming and non-combative, and it worked. The case, known to history as Murray versus Pearson, forced the University of Maryland to integrate its law school. I believe we have a slide. There it is. Murray versus Pearson, 1936, even though the case started in 35. It took a long time. Thurgood is way on your left, barely in the picture. But the University of Maryland then had to integrate their law school. It had taken Marshall just 5 years to get his revenge. The case marked a pivotal moment in the fight against educational segregation, laying the groundwork for Brown versus the Board of Education nearly 2 decades later that Thurgood would also win. You might say that Thurgood Marshall started it and he finished it. He wasn't Emperor Jones just yet, but he was getting there. Integration, and only integration. Use the law to make it happen in schools, in workplaces, in theaters and restaurants, housing, everywhere. And equal rights under the law would take hold. That was Thurgood's mantra. He had good reason to believe in the power of integration. He grew up in Baltimore, as did his parents and grandparents. All were free black Americans, and while segregation certainly existed, black and white working class families lived and worked closely together. Since the 1850s, many free blacks were well-to-do homeowners, businessmen, and religious leaders, and there were even private schools for free black children. As a teenager, Thurgood was part of the admittedly slow, messy, but always forward progress brought by this incomplete but effective integration. He worked for a hat maker, Mr. Showen, and during the 5 o'clock rush hour one afternoon, Mr. Showen sent his young worker out with a tall stack of hats to deliver. As Thurgood was getting on a trolley and struggling around the boxes, he brushed by a white woman who was also getting on board. A white man grabbed his shirt collar and pulled him violently backwards off the trolley. "Don't push in front of a white lady," the man told him. Marshall brashly responded, "Damn it, I'm just trying to get on the damned bus." The reply was predictable. "N-word, boy. Don't you talk to me like that." Thurgood dropped the hats and started swinging. The man grabbed his shirt and started wrestling with him. A policeman ran over and arrested Thurgood, who did not start the fight. He phoned Mr. Showen from the precinct, who came down to the station and told the police that his young worker had been provoked. Marshall recalled many years later that they took his boss's word and let him go. I apologized to Mr. Showen for destroying all of his expensive hats. And he told me, "It's worth it if you were right." Did that man really call you that word? Thurgood's father had told him not to accept that word, to fight back, in effect. Thurgood said, "Yes, sir." He sure did. And Mr. Showen stopped walking, put an arm around me, and told me I had done the right thing. A white man had taken his side in a fight with another white man. That wouldn't have happened someplace in America where black and white Americans didn't interact daily, often working together in a messy, imperfect, de facto integration. Integration, and only integration, would become Thurgood's battle cry, and his life would consist of one battle after another to achieve it. In the 20 years following his victory of Murray versus Pearson, Thurgood Marshall argued cases before the U.S. Supreme Court for the NAACP and went 29 for 3, winning more cases before our highest court than any other American. By the mid-1950s, he was a household name in many black communities and a symbol of hope and progress. He traveled through the Jim Crow South, often at great personal risk, defending black clients and challenging segregation in court. His bravery and success made him a folk hero, and he got amazing fan mail, often from people who could barely write. "You know, Mr. Marshall, you is the first person who ever stood up for us. I ain't ever going to forget you. And I'll tell you this, you can count on me. One day in 1951, on a trip by train deep into South Carolina, he traveled with the famous psychologist Kenneth Clark. It was Ken Clark and his wife, Mamie, who showed that black children had such poor self-confidence that when presented with a black doll baby and a white doll baby, they chose the white one. I believe we have a slide of that. I've obviously mixed up the slides, and Thorpe is trying to figure out what I did. But there's one of Kenneth Clark there, Thorpe. I may give you the wrong slideshow for that matter. Kenneth Clark is sitting there crying, it appears, holding up a black doll baby and a white doll baby, and his wife is there with him. He's actually crying in the picture. The experiment went like this. They would present a black doll baby and a white doll baby to a young child, a young black child, and they would ask the young child to pick which one they liked. Most of the black children chose the white one and said it was good, and rejected the black one, saying it was bad. It was Thurgood who heard about that research and said, "You two are with me." And that research would help him win many cases. Clark told the following story of the train trip. On the train, Marshall and I had our first long conversation about school segregation. And he was his usual fast talking, telling me dramatic stories filled with colorful characters from his trip to southern courtrooms. But as he traveled deeper into the South and the day turned to night, Marshall became quieter, spending most of his time staring out the window. "What's the matter?" I asked. He up and said, "I'm just tired of trying to save the white man's soul." But once we arrived in South Carolina, Marshall showed no signs of that burden. He was just afraid I would be beaten up or lynched because I was a black man wearing a suit. He gave me a $50 bill to buy off any white thugs. Luckily, I didn't have to use it. Saving the white man's soul. Martin, Marshall, and even Malcolm X, after his trip to Mecca, were all on the same page about that regrettable truth. A lot of white Americans needed saved. That may sound pessimistic, but compared to today's anti-racism efforts, Martin, Marshall, and the changed Malcolm X were all forgiving optimists. Today, many academic, self-proclaimed experts on racism condemn not just some, but all white people, regardless of the contents of their hearts and minds, and say, in effect, they will always be and are irredeemably racist. I'm guessing you've probably noticed we are going backwards in race relations because of this angry-filled materialistic theory. And dictators. Dictators always use stepping stones made of hate to reach their thrones. Today's casual daily use of the word racist gave Trump all the steps he needed. It sounds mystical, perhaps, but it's really mathematical. Illiberal liberals, unjustly taking turns calling all white people racists, unwittingly helped elect Donald Trump. And do you think, if you went back to 1960 and told Thurgood that your grandfather was a racist, and you learned from it, and you are not a racist, and you hate racism, do you think he would, in the fashion of our own day, say that your claim not to be a racist proves you are in fact a racist, and you will always be a racist? No. I think Thurgood would more likely say that your soul has truly been saved, and he would be glad of it. He was just getting started, of course. In 1961, President Kennedy appointed him to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. In 1965, President Johnson appointed him Solicitor General, where he again argued cases before the Supreme Court. In 1967, Johnson nominated him for the Supreme Court, and he served there for 24 years doing what he could to ensure that the court of his day kept America struggling forward, not backwards. Storyteller and joker that he was, he would often remark, "It's so nice that no one cares which of the 23 hours of day I work." I think his final speech, made just a year before he died, showed that he changed over the years and broadened his ideas of how positive, lasting, compassionate change can happen. For most of his life, he was in many ways a typical lawyer and a typical judge, saying it's never right to break the law. He often spoke critically of King and his followers who broke, admittedly, unjust laws when they sat at lunch counters segregated according to the law, or when they refused to move to the back of the bus as some law required. "No," said Thurgood, "that just makes the white man angrier. Don't break the law. If it's an unjust law, just change that unjust law." But in his final address to the world, it's clear he didn't think the law can bring justice all by itself. He said something else is required. Here are Thurgood's most quoted, most famous words. Maybe you can decide what they mean. The legal system can force open doors and sometimes even knock down walls, but it cannot build bridges. That job belongs to you and me. Black and white, rich and poor, educated and illiterate, our fates are bound together. We can run from each other, but we cannot escape each other. We will only attain freedom if we learn to appreciate what is different and muster the courage to discover what is fundamentally the same. Knock down the fences that divide. Tear apart the walls that imprison. Reach out. Freedom lies just on the other side. Thank you.
And time for generosity and thankfulness. And I'm thankful for sermons such as that. Thank you. Do not doubt your own basic goodness. In spite of all confusion and fear, you are born with a heart that knows what is just, loving, and beautiful. Jack Cornfield. We volunteer our gifts of time, talent, and treasure to work for justice, to create a safe space for all who come to explore and to heal those in need of comfort. We invite you to join us as we take our collection by placing your offering in the basket in the back for the church as you leave, or online gift at uuflint.org, and all gifts are gratefully accepted. Thank you.
May you be filled with the blessings of this community's highest aspirations. May you carry them with you as you depart. May you discover the places in this world where these blessings are needed, and may you have the courage to share them.
And let us extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together. Again.
I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love. I got a song I can sing, I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing, as long as I've got this string. I'd be a silly so-and-so if I should ever let go. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love.
Refreshment time. Down in Elton, yes? Yes.